1-4 since, losing 3 straight, right now outside the playoff hunt at 9th in the AFC standings. And after missing the Steelers game last week due to a 10-day COVID quarantine, Lamar Jackson has been activated and is expected to start in tonight's game. And to Graziano, let me come back to you first on that. What is the expectation relative to Lamar Jackson, his availability tonight? Because obviously that is critical for a game the Ravens desperately need to win.
Yeah, look, we've seen guys come off the COVID list and be fine in the first game back. So every case is different. You know, did he have symptoms? Was he actually sick? Does he need time to recover? Obviously, if the Ravens are putting him out there, they're sure that he's going to be okay and that they believe he gives them the best chance to win tonight.
So let's go around the horn and find out who we think is going to win tonight. Let's get our picks here. And Jeff Saturday, I will start with you. Ravens, Cowboys to finish up the weekend. Who do you like?
I'm going Baltimore Ravens, and I'm hoping the Ravens get back to physical football. You know, we talk about the black and blue division with they and the Steelers. Now, the Steelers don't want to run the ball. The Ravens want to develop Lamar Jackson as a quarterback. How about we just line up and go hit people in the mouth? You're also going to get Brandon Williams and hopefully Calais Campbell back in the fold on the defensive front. They need to totally dominate this Cowboys offensive line. This needs to be a physical throttling by the Baltimore Ravens. I think they give it, and I'm giving them the win tonight.
McElroy, who you got?
I think it's going to be a beatdown in favor of the Ravens. I look at this team, and they still have so much to play for, and their backs are against the wall. They absolutely have to have it. The Cowboys, with the resurgence of what we've seen from the Giants and the Redskins, their hopes of getting to the playoffs are done. They're finished. They're playing for next year, really. So I'm thinking that Baltimore comes out and does work tonight. Their best performance in quite some time. And they remind us just how good they are when they put it all together.
Graziano, what do you think?
$1 in the jar for McElroy for not getting Washington football team there, but I think it's Baltimore. I think they're definitely, the Cowboys are shot. Zach Martin going on IR was the last straw if it hadn't already been hit, and I just don't think they have enough to hang with a team that still has something to play for.
I'll tell you one thing. I look at the schedule. I think the Washington football team benefited yesterday by having all this additional rest. Shame on the Cowboys if they're not ready to play tonight, having 12 days between games while the Ravens are playing on a short week with only 6. That made a difference last night, and I think it makes a difference tonight. I'm taking the Cowboys to win tonight, and I'm putting the pressure on you, Dallas.
Set up because of the play-action pass. This offense runs through Chubb. Look how wide open guys are, and look at the protection. They had an 80% pass efficiency rate blocking on Sunday. Just absolutely incredible. I mean, how hard is it to throw these touchdowns? Look how wide open. And by the way, that's a big man catching it right there, Greeny. You see the athleticism right there? McElroy, you see that too? We make them look good everywhere. That's how we do it.
Five pancakes.
But in all honesty, absolutely. But in all honesty, he had 3 touchdowns with 3+ yards of separation. That shows you how effective this play-action pass is working. Bill Callahan, their offensive line coach and run game coordinator, has set this thing up through Chubb and Hunt. It is a thing of beauty, and give credit to my man because he did perform.
Look, it's a total organizational success right now as they sit at 9-3. Yeah. I think Kevin Stefanski is in the conversation for Coach of the Year. Dan Graziano, what are we seeing there, and what does this formula look like to you going forward?
Look, they do have a formula that they lean on. As Jeff refers to, it works off the run game with Chubb and Hunt. But I think what you saw Sunday is they have the ability to work off of that formula and still surprise you. Everybody thought this was going to be a run game on both sides of the ball. Stefanski comes out chucking it because he knows the Titans don't have a pass rush, and when Baker Mayfield is comfortable, he can get things done. So he's thinking ahead of the game. Yep. I think that's why Stefanski was a good hire. They didn't hire him because they liked his offensive scheme. They hired him because they thought he was a good coach and a good leader. Really important lesson for a lot of teams over the next 3-4 weeks as we head into coaching search season.
Look, for a franchise that has gotten so much wrong in recent years, it is worth pointing out right now it feels like they've gotten a lot of different things right. Meanwhile, one of the biggest stories coming out of the weekend, of course, was the benching of Carson Wentz in favor of Jalen Hurts during the Eagles' loss to Green Bay. Yesterday, head coach Doug Peterson was asked if a decision had been made regarding who starts this week against the Saints, and here's what he said.
No, I have not made a decision yet. Not prepared right now to make any statement or decisions on that. I'm still processing a lot of a lot of things and going through a lot of things before I make that decision. So that when I know, you'll know.
Sure. I'm not asking what the decision is, but what goes into that decision?
I would like to keep those private, so that's just between me and me.
I'm using that from now on.
Going well
Anytime
there.
I don't want to share any information, I'm just going to say I'm going to keep that between me and me. In the meantime, Dan Graziano, my insider, let me come to you. What are we hearing? What should the expectation be for Philly this Sunday against New Orleans?
Look, in my experience, when a head coach says he doesn't know who the quarterback is going to be next week, it's probably not going to be the same guy it was last week. Obviously, they could go back to Carson Wentz,
right.
but right now it seems like things are pointing toward a switch to Jalen Hurts, if for no other reason than to find out what they have in the young man that they drafted in the second round this year so that they can make some decisions in the offseason about where they want to go at the quarterback position. That could still end up being Wentz. We've talked about the contract a lot, but it doesn't necessarily have to be. And if they did decide to move on, it would be important for them to know what they already have.
All right, and so, Greg, for those just joining us, you put together an excellent tape. I'd love to watch it again of why you believe it should be Jalen Hurts going forward right now for Philly.
If they're in the business of trying to win football games and chase that elusive playoff spot, they're a game and a half back, it needs to be Jalen Hurts moving forward. Here's why. Because he's making people around him better. Whereas Carson Wentz isn't really doing that right now. It's 3rd and 4, all right? Busted protection. You got pressure off the left-hand side. Mike and a nickel coming at you. The running back, what are you doing Saturday? You trying to get me killed in protection? Tighten up, all right? The running back doesn't see the guy coming some way, somehow. Jalen Hurts unfazed. Throws an absolute strike down the left-hand side to Jalen Reagor. But here's where he really helps the offensive line, is that when the defensive line gets overly aggressive and they try to rush the passer and they get pushed past the quarterback, Jalen Hurts has the suddenness and the athleticism to make you pay. Right there, might have been a sack if it's Wentz. Instead, with Jalen, it's a 1st and 10. Same situation here. You see the defensive end on the near side. He gets pushed past the quarterback. Next thing you know, the Red Sea widens and Jalen Hurts is able to move out to his right, buy a little time, and throw a beautiful throw down the field for his first career NFL touchdown. Jalen Hurts right now, when he went into the game, he made the Eagles' offensive personnel better. That hasn't been the case with Carson Wentz. That's why if they're really trying to win games, and that's the ultimate goal, Jalen Hurts needs to be the guy moving forward.
You know, and Jeff, sometimes we talk about how things will play in the locker room. Well, you're the locker room, right? You're an offensive lineman, and it just can't be ignored that for whatever reason, the Eagles just looked like they played better around Nick Foles than they did around Wentz, even though clearly Wentz is the more talented and skilled player. And now, in this tiny little sample size, it looks the same around Jalen Hurts. So take me inside that locker room, Jeff Saturday. If you're on that team, what are you thinking?
Yeah, listen, you understand that Jalen Hurts provided the spark that you were looking for a football team, right? He comes in and to Greg's point, he plays a little bit better and gives you a little action. All of a sudden people are excited. But let's not forget, that's a very small sample size. 12 throws? He still got sacked 3 times, I think. And so, in my opinion, Greeny, as I look at this, I would continue to rotate Wentz and Hurts. Listen, there's not a more popular guy in the world than a backup quarterback when the starting quarterback is struggling. But when people begin to prepare for Jalen Hurts and they begin to see what he does and his tendencies, all these defenses will lock down because they're not going to be helped by receivers. Their offensive line is struggling, so I'm not sure you really get a big difference in whichever guy. I would think you have the defensive coordinators prepare for both guys, and whichever guy's hot, you kind of go with it. Maybe you pull Wentz out of his regression, and you can still see what Hurts is doing. I do not think